Need motivation?
Watch a Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like na 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 na. For my top 10, top 10, na 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 na. This one's for my top 10.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more. And you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Lewis Howes, and my take on his top 50 rules for success. Enjoy.
I think you gotta have a dream first. You know, for me, it always starts with a dream because I can go through any adversity when I have a dream, something I'm passionate about. When I'm not excited about something, then I want to give up, or I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I want to go back to thinking about my dream.
Right.
And so I think first we have to figure out what is our dream and go on a journey and a path to achieving that. And, you know, years ago, I was telling Scooter, our mutual friend, backstage years ago, when I didn't have much, I remember watching this show and seeing people dance, and I literally envisioned in my head hip bumping you dancing on this stage.
And we did it.
We did it.
Wow.
We did it.
That's listen. There are many examples of that kind of, believing it and achieving it.
The first one that most people come to me is they don't have a clear vision of what they want. They want a better life, they want to make more money, they want to have a better relationship, but they're not clear. And the greatest minds and the greatest achievers are very specific and clear on their vision. It's so certain to them what it is, they can see it, they can feel it, they can taste it. And as an athlete, I used to visualize how I wanted to create my sport. I wanted to create myself in sports. And vision was very powerful for me back then as it is now for business world. So the first thing is vision that people need to get clear on. Started with vision. In sports, we always start each season with a clear vision on the chalkboard in the locker room. What are we looking to achieve this season? Do we want to make the playoffs? Do we want to win the championship? We're always very clear. It's written up on the board. Every day we walk in the locker room, we see our vision. We know what we're working towards. So for me, I have a board with my vision, and every day I look at it, and I'm very clear and specific about what it is, when it's gonna happen, each 6 months to a year, each season of my life. So I just try to translate all that I learned as an athlete, because that's all I knew, into life. And it's helped me get to at least where I'm at currently. A lot of people, when they're trying to get success as an entrepreneur and they fail, it's because they don't first believe in themselves. Now, you've got to believe in yourself. You've got to build some confidence in yourself so that you can build the right relationships, so you can take action, create the right products, deliver the service, sell yourself. Really, it's all about selling yourself if you want to sell your products and services. So you've got to build some small wins, little wins every single day to build that confidence and start believing in yourself.
There's a lot of people who get frustrated, who then say, enough is enough, I'm going to do something. And then the next day they wake up and they're like back to their old life. Like they had this moment of boldness, a moment of greatness, and then fall back into repeated patterns and habits, and life just gets them down again and they go back to their job or their regular life. Like, how did you break that cycle? And this is actually the day I'm going to go and do something bigger.
I think it was just a moment of like, enough is enough. Like I was sleeping on my sister's couch for a couple of years originally, and she had told me, are you going to start paying rent at about a 1.5 year mark? Like, when are you going to start paying rent? Because I was just eating her food for free. I was like a slob. I didn't clean up. I was just taking advantage of the situation. And I was 24 years old or something. And I remember just being like, it's time for me to grow up and do something with my life. Like, I've sat here for 1.5 years, almost 2 years now, like depressed, miserable, whatever I was doing, making excuses. Like, this isn't who I want to be. I aspire to be something greater. My parents didn't raise me to be this way. I wanted to make myself proud. I wanted to make my last name proud. I wanted to make, my family proud. And I wanted to be a symbol. I think, I've always wanted to be a symbol of inspiration, of possibilities. From my sports days, I remember the feeling after the games when parents or fans or parents of other players from other teams would come up to me and say, thank you for showing me what's possible. Like, I had no, there was no way you were able to catch that ball, but somehow you did that. It was like, it blew my mind. There was no way you guys should have come back after how much you were down. And what you did like blew me away. Like I loved hearing that and seeing in other people like this spark of passion, excitement, a possibility for what they could create in their life. And I wanted to be that symbol of passion and vision and focus and commitment towards my dream to show others what's possible. And I've never been the best at anything I've done. In sports, I was like always the underdog. I was never the biggest, fastest, or strongest dog. And I think it's just wanting to show people what's possible. So that's what I'm still doing. It's like I'm just a kid from a small town in Delaware, Ohio, who had a lot of emotional turmoil inside growing up, and I'm trying to show people what's possible, no matter where you come from.
Good book by my man, Evan Carmichael, Built to Serve. If you want to learn about your purpose and how to become a better leader in the world, I love this. He says, this is the starting point for everything. If you're confused about what to do next, if you're pressured by others to fit in or live their version of your life, if you feel held back because of people judging you, it's because you don't know who you are and what you stand for. You got to figure out who you are and what you want and how you can serve other people.
I built it up. I didn't have that big of an audience when I started it almost 3 years ago. I had a pretty decent size, but I had the relationships with influencers from the years of previous stuff with my other business. So I was able to get a lot of great influencers on because I do an interview podcast. And I was just consistent. I said, I'm going to do it every week for this year. And I did one once a week. And then the second year, I said, I'm going to do it twice a week this year because people were asking for more.
Yeah.
The third year now, people said, we want more. So I said, I'm going to do 3 times a week.
Wow.
And so I'm at 240 episodes almost right now, over a 3-year period. And I still feel like I'm scratching the surface. But I'm almost 3 years in, at the end of 3 years, and I still love it. So I think a lot of people get into a podcast because they feel like they need to do it or they want to do it. And they'll talk about a topic for 6 months and then they're burnt out.
Yeah.
So I think if you're going to do a podcast, do something that you're committed to for the next 3, 5, 10 years.
Yeah.
If you really want to see it grow and build momentum around your brand and have an impact. We always had this goal in sports. And I give the credit to my coaches for like instilling that in me, is like always creating this goal for this part of time to achieve something. And during that time, nothing else mattered. It didn't matter what was happening in school for me. It didn't happen what was, relationships didn't matter. It was just like achieving that goal.
Yeah.
And maybe it comes back to like childhood or something where I just wanted to be a great athlete. But when I get in that mind frame, I guess, I don't know, I just want to achieve the goal more than anything else. And that's what I like to do. Learning to be with a team, learning to be coachable. I wasn't the best athlete, but I was very coachable. So once I learned that, like, okay, how am I going to build a business? How am I going to do anything outside of sports? Well, the first thing I need is a coach, because that's the only way I was successful in sports. So I hired coaches and mentors early on. And I just know that the greatest athletes in the world can never do it on their own. They always have a coach. Even when they're at their peak, they hire better coaches. So for me, coaches, and then learning how to work with a team. Can't achieve anything on your own, can't achieve anything great on your own. So I learned quickly about developing a team around me, of people much smarter who could support my vision. Building a powerful team. I think there's a lot of people, especially in the entrepreneurial world, they want to be a lone wolf, they want to do it on their own. No one can do it like them. No one's as good as them. No one knows how to do it like them. And that can only take you so far. So if you want to build something really powerful and really big and expand and grow, you've got to learn to be able to work with a team. And you've got to lead with some inspiration. You can't put people down and make people feel bad, because there's a lot of different options these days for people to leave and go do whatever they want. So how are you going to build a powerful team? Loving deeper, relationships I've discovered are the key to success in life. And the key to successful relationships are loving deeper and being more vulnerable and intimate.
Wow.
And really showing yourself. And I think we miss that sometimes. We're so busy, we're so focused on our own selves and our cell phones, whatever it may be, that we don't take time to connect like this.
Yeah.
And just look in someone's eyes and tell them what their dream is.
Yeah.
And how they feel. And listen. And so relationships are the key to success in my mind.
I just went to India to get certified to be a meditation instructor, went through a 2-week process, and It's something I try to do on a daily basis. And when I implement a daily meditation practice, I feel it. I feel positive. I feel clear. I feel intentional about what I'm doing. I'm less reactive. Since I've been back, there have been days I've missed doing my meditation. And since missing them, I feel lethargic. I feel lazier. I feel more reactive or frustrated in certain times. So I definitely feel the difference from the days I meditate versus the days I don't. So set yourself up to win in this year, to making your greatest year ever by having a daily meditation practice. I'm telling you guys, it's so simple. Meditation is becoming well known from people all over the world now. It's not some weird woo-woo thing anymore. People are talking about it in the workforce, in sports, in relationships, whatever it may be. It's all good. And set yourself up to win.
Okay. You're good. I'll let you do your thing for a second. Oh, do your thing. Do your solo thing. Do your solo thing. Do your little solo thing. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. You're amazing. Hopefully I wasn't too much of a white boy. The thing about a lot of ball players, pro athletes, a lot of them live off their previous legacy. They don't create something when they're 28, 30 when they retire.
Right.
And they live off of their glory days.
Right.
And I was like, I don't have glory days. You know, I played arena ball. I didn't even play the NFL. So what can I create from this moment? And I found a couple of key mentors early on who challenged me. I realized from sports that I did really well under structure, under pressure, and under a goal and a challenge. Without that structure, without that coaching, without that goal, what was I striving for? So I had a few key mentors that I said, I want you to challenge me and give me a challenge every single week on how I can improve this, that.
Was this in person, over the phone? Or?
In person, yeah. In Columbus, Ohio, so some local mentors of mine there.
Business people? Or?
Yeah, business entrepreneur.
Yeah.
One was, had a business, an entrepreneur who'd also written a number of books who helped me write my first book. Another one was a professional speaker who got paid to do speaking. And I said, I know I want to be able to speak and present my message in public someday to move people, but I was terrified to speak in public at the time. So he guided me into doing that, and so on and so on. My dad gets injured. He had a car accident, was in a coma for 3 months. And we didn't know if he was gonna live or die. Yeah. So it was this very uncertain time. And when he was in the coma, I said, you know, what would he want me to do? He would want me to go live my dreams. And so I went after playing professional football right after that. And he eventually woke up, but we had to teach him how to write, how to talk, how to, we had to, change him constantly. Like he wasn't the functioning person that he used to be. He wasn't my dad anymore. Yeah. So it was an emotionally challenging experience because I lost the relationship with my father, but he's still in front of me. Yeah. I had to teach him how, he was like a kid almost. Yeah. And so to watch my father be this, provider, larger than life hero of mine, now we have to take care of him. Yeah. It was a challenging experience for me as a 23-year-old. And I remember, so he had to sell his business to his business partner at the time. So there was no more financial support that I had because he was kind of funding my athletic endeavors, training, education, all that stuff, everything. He was like, you go chase your dream. Like, I'll take care of stuff. So when that realization came to me, like, I no longer have my dad to fall back on. I played football, got injured. He wasn't there he wasn't able to be there for me financially, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, as a mentor. He wasn't able to be there for me. Yeah. And I didn't have his company to fall back on, nor did I really want to. I mean, I almost failed it 3 times in a row. I didn't really like it. Yes. I liked people, but I didn't want to sell insurance. Yes. Just what he knew for 33 years. And that was probably the biggest thing that happened to me, because if he was still healthy and alive,
then you might be just a little
I'd
bit
probably
business.
Selling life insurance in Delaware, Ohio, and be rising up in that city or whatever. Maybe I'd have moved to the big city of Columbus, Ohio. But as much as it's sad for me to know that he's still alive, but it's like a completely different relationship, and it's sad for me to know that happened. But I also think it had to happen for me to be able to become the man that I am today. Yeah. And to have the courage to be able to go after something that I didn't even know was possible.
You would always say to me, man, you got to move forward. Like, just keep going. You gotta let go a little bit, let people in. You got to systematize. And I would clutch on, trying to control every little detail. And I've grown a lot in that regard. Like, we've gotten a lot better. I have a team now, and I have support, and it's been amazing. But I still have that impulse, that I'm trying to overcome a little bit.
I hear you, man. It's hard for me. Because when I started years ago in the online marketing space, I did everything myself, from the newsletter to the social media to the customer support to the sales, the marketing, webinars, and I wanted to learn it all. But I think as I've let go more and more, it's like my business has grown. So even though it's people make mistakes and I get frustrated sometimes, but it's like, you know what? I want to be able to grow as fast, and I got to be okay with some of those mistakes because other people are going to make mistakes.
Seeing you on Ellen was dope.
Thank you.
That was really
very
neat.
Grateful, very blessed. It was a dream of mine. I remember having a vision of dancing with Ellen on stage one time when I was on my sister's couch.
Right.
And I told her that in the first interview. I was lucky enough to go on twice. And I told her that in the first interview. And I was just like, I like to bring things full circle. I like to have a vision or a dream. And then actually, even if it's 10, 20 years later, I like to see it come true. Most people, I feel like, just if it doesn't happen within the first 6 months, they're on to something else.
Right.
I can be as bored out of my mind doing the same thing over and over to try to do one thing. And I think that's what's helped.
What happened, man? You're 8 years old, 6 years old. You want to be noticed. You want to be great. You want to be somebody. How does a guy build that? How did you build people now knowing you?
Yeah, I mean, from then it was just finding the right environment, the right coaches, the right training to become the best athlete I could be to get to that dream. Then when that was over, I knew I still wanted to inspire people. As a kid, I wanted to make people feel better about themselves. I wanted to inspire them through my athletics. I wanted to perform on the field where people would come out to watch me play and say, wow, that was an incredible play. He just went through all this adversity and made that play. I feel like I can do that in my life.
Right.
That's the symbol.
Because that's a bigger game, really, than sports.
It's a bigger game. It's a bigger game, of course. I wanted to inspire people who watch me.
Yeah.
And when I was done with that, I remember I went to I don't know if you're a fan of Tony Robbins or not, but I respect what he's created. It's incredible what he's built.
Unbelievable marketer.
Unbelievable. When I was 16, I went to my first big event, and it was a Tony Robbins event. And I remember it was in St. Louis, Missouri, about 15,000 people in this arena. Donald Trump was actually there speaking, Larry King Live, all these other people were speaking there. And I remember the inspiration that he created, whether you believed him or not, the inspiration he created was so powerful, and people took action in their lives. And I remember at one point he walked down to the middle of the arena. I was sitting about halfway back in the arena on the floor level. He walked down and stood right next to me, about this close. And I don't remember what he said or what he did, but I remember the way he made me feel. And his energy was so powerful and magnetic.
Yeah.
He didn't even look at me, but he was just standing there. And I was like, whatever he has, I want to create that for people in the world. I don't care what it is, but I want to inspire people.
Yeah.
And at the time, that was sports. And when that was done, I said, I want to create information. I want to teach people. I want to write books and do things that are that catalyst for people's inspiration. And I said, who do I need to become? What type of results do I need to create to have the backing, to have the credibility so that I can create a book or create a podcast or create something where people will be inspired by it, will they'll listen, will they'll buy? Who do I need to become? And that's what the last 8 years has been, getting results, having smaller goals every 3 to 6 months, achieving those goals, and then building momentum along the way. I had 7 years of college. It took me to graduate. Like, I wasn't skilled at anything but sports and people. I learned how to, at an early age, observe people.
Yes.
And I became very intuitive about how people think, why they do the things they do. And I started to be aware and sensitive and very emotional to people's feelings, their desires, their dreams, their past, their everything. I didn't know that was a skill that I could use for, my greater good and the greater good of everything. Everything I do is for a reason too. I try to constantly do things that put me out of a box, that make me uncomfortable and that challenge me. And talking about masculine vulnerability definitely is a challenge. When I was in high school going into college, my siblings and I made a bet. They all said that I'd be like this drunk jock football player because I was going to play college football. They were like, you're gonna go and be like a frat boy and this and that. And maybe it's part of my ego at the time where I was like, I'm gonna prove you wrong. I didn't have a sip of alcohol all 4 years of college.
That's amazing.
Never even felt tempted because I just made that into my mind. I was like, I'm gonna be different than what people wanna put me in a box to be. I've still never been drunk because I just continue to carry that on.
Wow.
I was in a school musical. I was in choir. I always did things. I salsa dance. I try to do different things. That
you salsa dance well.
I've been salsa dancing for almost over a decade.
Wow.
Yeah, over a decade. It's a big passion of mine. And I just try to constantly learn things that normally people that look like me, who grew up like me, would never do. Because I feel like there's so much richness of life that I would have missed out on had I stayed in this athletic jock core group that, if I'm generalizing it, just kind of did the same thing and talked the same way and lived a certain lifestyle. And I just didn't want to live that life. I wanted to live a life of abundance, of learning, of constantly questioning who I am and if I'm doing things for the greater good or just for myself.
Look, be everywhere, folks. You got to be everywhere. This guy's an example of that. And I was just telling him on the break, his book right now is The School of Greatness. He's out. You got to get it. Go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, go wherever books are sold. And get it because it's talking about greatness. And on the break we were talking about, I said, dude, you got to be everywhere.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing right now. He's everywhere right now.
Someone left a comment on your screen a few minutes ago saying, I saw him on Gary Vaynerchuk's show, I saw him on Ty Lopez, I saw him on Rich Roll.
Right.
Now he's on Grant Cardone, he's everywhere. And that's been my strategy is when you've got something you believe in, a dream, and I know you do this. You've got a book, a project, whatever, a message, you've got to be everywhere, at least when you launch it, to get the buzz out, to get the word out. So many people don't fight for their dreams. They create something and then they just hope that people are going to come to them. You've got to be willing to put yourself out there. You're the best example of this because you are unapologetically putting yourself out there in a powerful way. You don't care if people hate you, love you, as long as they know you.
Just know me, baby.
I know.
Just know me. I don't care. I'm running for president of the United States, man. And I operate like I have. I'm running for president, but I don't have a PAC fund behind me.
Right.
So look, you got to be out there every day. Look at Donald Trump. What Donald Trump?
He's crushing it. Huh? He's crushing it. People hate him, but he's everywhere. When I had surgery, I broke my wrist, and they had to put a bone from my hip into my wrist.
You see a scar.
See the scar here. They took a bone out of my hip, put it in my wrist. I was in a cast from my shoulder to my fingers for 6 months like this. Wow. So I was in this position. And when you're in a cast like this, I could move it here, I can move it here, I can move it here, but I couldn't straighten my arm. So I kind of rested. And it would like scratch my shirt when I was shirtless. It would like scratch my skin. It smelled. It was dirty. All these things. I was like, it didn't look good. So I invented this cast cover. I actually still have one. I think it's in that locker.
Yes. This was of that.
This is over 15 years ago, I think. I invented this cast cover that I actually went on Alibaba.com. I had like $60 to my name. I was like, here's what I want. Here's the design. I want it to be like a wristband because I wore wristbands in football.
Yeah.
I was like, I need a long wristband.
Yes.
That's double thickness.
Yes.
That's different colors. That has a thumb hole. Like all these different.
You were
things.
just thinking of doing it for yourself.
That's
right?
it. I just wanted a solution.
You weren't thinking of creating a product.
No, I was like, I need a solution for my pain.
Yeah.
That was it.
Okay.
That's my first entrepreneurial idea, but I didn't know what it was.
Yes.
So I got this thing back from China. That was like 6 weeks later after I wired this money. I was like, I'm never gonna get this money back.
Yes.
I had no clue what was going on.
Was it difficult communicating with China?
Very difficult. I'm sending emails back and forth.
They don't understand. You try to understand what they say.
I had no clue what I was doing.
Yeah.
But I went on Alibaba and posted something. And I got this box back with all these cast covers, right, that I made. And I remember saying to myself, wow, this thing is amazing. I could change them out with different colors.
Yeah.
It fits over the thumb hole. It looks better. Now, maybe I can make some money with this.
Wonder who else needs this, right?
Yes. There's lots of guys who break their arm and legs.
There's got to be a few of them, more than you. Yeah, okay.
So I remember I was dating a girl at the time, and I was just like, I need to meet an inventor.
Wow.
Someone who's done this before that can help me. Because this is an invention, right? Even though it's just a piece of cloth.
Yeah.
And she goes, I know an inventor.
Oh, wow.
And he just moved back to Columbus, Ohio. This is where I was living at the time. He just moved back.
Okay.
And I go, I need to meet this guy now.
Okay.
Like, put me in front of him, call him. I need to meet him now.
Okay.
I meet the guy the next day. And at the time, I was a couple months out of football.
Okay.
And as a football player, I looked like pretty much like a thug. I was wearing a backwards cap. I had baggy pants. I was just this athlete jock mentality.
Yes,
so I show up with these baggy pants and backwards cap to a bar to meet this guy in this cast, and I was just like so passionate about this idea.
Was he scared of you? Like,
he was scared.
I can imagine. Yeah, a little intimidating.
I was rough around the edges,
Yes.
And I was just like convinced this guy knew the answer.
Yes.
Because he'd done it before.
Yes. He may be afraid to say no to you.
Exactly. He's complete opposite of me. He was more like analytical and nerdy in a sense. He was just like, but I brought this passion and this energy that I was just like, I need to make this happen.
Yes.
And I want to work with you. I want to make this happen. I don't know why, but he brought me on for 6 months. I worked for free for him for 6 months at his invention shop.
Wow.
In the kitchen, he had a closet that I had like a little desk that he put in for me. Yeah. And I was working for him, doing phone calls, trying to like promote his other products, going to trade shows with him and just learning about how to take an idea and bring it to reality. I was born in '83. The 90s were interesting for me. 90s were a lot of suffering, actually.
For you?
Yeah, a lot of suffering.
Oh, and I see tears in your eyes. So.
Yeah. I mean, it was dark. I think it was just like, there was a lot of joy and love. I think we focus more on the suffering and the painful times than the love. I think we remember those times for whatever reason because they create trauma in our lives. But it also made me so caring and compassionate and just a big dreamer to realize that there's more than just this suffering and struggle. And that's what I think was the spark for me is like you talked about some of the greatest leaders all suffered and then they learn how to have like this incredible rich life because they know how dark it's been for them. And I think that's what I always focus on. No matter what challenge I've been through, there's always richness on the other side.
19 years ago, there was a teacher that believed in me. I was flunking English my senior year at high school. And she said, Louis, it was midway through the term, or I can't remember what you call it in high school, the semester, the term, whatever it is called. And she goes, Louis, you're flunking. And just to remind you, if you don't pass this class, you can't go to college. You have to pass senior year English in order to get the minimum grade to get accepted into the college you want to go to play football. You won't be able to play football, which was my dream. And I said, you got to help me. This is like the hardest thing for me in my whole life. I've had tutors, special needs classes. Can you help me? And she was like, I will be here every day after class, but you've got to show up and I'll make sure you pass it if you show up every single day. And I mean, it must have been one of the hardest things for her to work with someone with a second grade reading level and senior year in high school. But she showed up and she said, I will do this act. And every day she showed up and I showed up. And it took both of us taking the commitment, but I passed, and it allowed me to get into college. And I wouldn't have been a New York Times bestseller without that act of kindness and greatness that she saw in me, just like you said with Nick's janitor. And I think now's the time to think about that in every area of your life.
Yes.
You know, you're not going to lose 20 pounds in a week, but what's the act you can do today that will be great, that will pay off 3 months, 6 months, 12 months from now in those little consistent acts. You talk about those small wins all the time.
Yes.
For me, at the beginning of this hour, we were talking about, you know, my teeth. I've got 4 missing teeth and big gaps, and I've got Invisalign that I've been using. And it's, you know, I remember starting it almost a year ago and being like, man, I'm a 36-year-old man. I'm putting braces on. This is embarrassing. I got to have this plastic in my mouth. I'm like a grown up now. What am I doing? But I was like, you know what? My future self is going to thank me. The health of my teeth are going to thank me, and my confidence is going to thank me, and it's going to impact me. And my girlfriend's like, how do you feel? Are they moving fast? I'm like, they're moving really slow. She reminded me this week, she said, this is going to take time. Appreciate the little wins, the little movement every day. And I was like, man, you're starting to sound like me. You know, I want things fast.
Yeah.
You're starting to sound like me when I talk to other people. You got to like appreciate the small wins every day.
I remember being so afraid to speak in front of people at the time. I couldn't speak in front of an audience of 5 without trembling, stuttering. Very insecure.
Even though you're a pro athlete, like, you know, you
Even though I
have
had
the
confidence in
presence.
yeah. But I was horrible in school.
Communication.
Horrible in school. The teacher would always ask us, say, open up chapter, whatever, page 53, and read aloud to the class. And I would just wish they wouldn't call my name.
Yes.
But they always would.
Don't call me, yeah?
But when I tell you that I was such a slow reader, it was just, I couldn't even read the simplest things, and I would stutter. So I just always felt like everyone was laughing at me. I always felt like everyone was laughing at me all the time when I would read aloud.
Yes. So that kind of conditioned you. You don't want to speak. I
don't want to be in front of an audience unless I'm playing a sport, something I'm comfortable in.
Then you don't have to speak.
That's the way I can perform.
It's all physique, right?
That's it. Yeah, because I could inspire people through my way of being, my performance. So I was always very insecure around speaking in front of other people, and I remember someone told me at some point, if you really want to change the world, you need to learn how to communicate in front of an audience. Whether it's a boardroom of people trying to share, you know, your message with their company, one-on-one, or if you want to move a society, you need to be able to communicate with confidence.
How do you get through a guy to say, dude, design a life, or you're probably not going to enjoy your life?
I think you just got to start asking the questions. Like, what is it you really want? What is it you really want? How do you want to feel every single day? And what is something you really enjoy doing? Most people don't get the results they want in life because they're not clear on what they actually want in the first place. You ask a lot of entrepreneurs, I'm sure a lot of the young kids who come on here and listen, they're always like, well, I'm not sure what my dream is, or I'm not sure what my passion is. And I think you got to get clear on what that is. And that doesn't mean you have to know what your dream is for the rest of your life, or like something you're to create for the rest of your life. But what do you want to do like in the next year? Like, what do you want to do now? What do you love doing right now? And if you don't love it anymore, I talk about business as in seasons. You know, our life is in seasons. Sports, there's seasons. And just because I loved playing baseball my entire childhood, every single year from T-ball until my junior year, at the last game my junior year, I was just like, you know what? I don't love this sport anymore.
For me as an athlete, you're a big baseball star. For me, the way I learned about being successful through achieving a goal and building more confidence through sports was the structure of your schedule. And as you were saying this, I was just like, you know, you become successful through the structure of your schedule, because when you have it mapped out and you check off your promises to yourself, you can look backwards every week, every month. Look at all that I created. And you feel that much more prepared when you step on stage, when you go into the interview, when you go into your first date, whatever it may be. You feel prepared because you took the steps and the promises every day to yourself. And that's how you become more successful and more confident, is through the structure of your schedule.
When I think the ego is present, you're unwilling to look for different answers or different solutions because you feel like you already have them. So for me, it was really about, okay, first being aware, my ego is leading the way. How is this supporting me and how is this hurting me? Because in some ways, it was benefiting my life. I was achieving. I was getting recognition. I was making money. I was in good shape. In other ways, the most important ways, my internal well-being was suffering, was hurting, was confused, was depressed at times, and was always in this conflict. And so first for me, it was like, okay, I realize that I have a challenge. I have a problem, right? It's that recognition. What can I do next? How can I have the understanding, the tools, the technology to move forward in a way that I'm not a slave to my ego, but I am aware of it, I can welcome it, I can have a conversation with it, and I can let it go. My third mentor told me to go on LinkedIn.
Okay, got it.
So my third mentor was a headmaster of the university that I went to called Principia College. And he was an Olympic qualifier in the marathon. He was just like a great spiritual business leader for me. He just always had the right moral. He just always knew like which direction you should go in. I could go to him for advice, and he was kind of like a sensei where he would never give me the answer.
Yeah, ask you questions.
Ask me to answer myself. Yeah, you know what I mean?
That's a great teacher right there.
Great teacher.
That's a great teacher, yeah.
He would just kind of wait for me to like know the answer, whatever it was.
Nice.
And I remember calling him and saying, I'm broke, I don't know what to do. I'm getting food out of the back of a Toastmasters, like people have to beg people to take me to lunch. And he said, you should join LinkedIn. And at the time, I think there were 14 million people on LinkedIn.
Oh,
this was 2007.
Yes, early on.
And he's like, I've heard some people are getting jobs there, why don't you check it out?
Yeah.
So I said, all right, I'm gonna,
Maybe
whatever
get
you
a
tell
job.
me to do,
Yeah.
I'll do whatever you tell me
Yeah.
to do. So I'm spending 6 hours a day on LinkedIn for the next year and a half during this time, just reaching out to people, trying to connect with local leaders in Columbus, Ohio, business leaders, successful people, just anyone from sports background to business to whatever it may be. Anywhere I could find like a tie where I went to school with, or they went to the same school, or they like football, anything at all. I was like, what do we have in common that I could reach out and connect to people? After about a year of building my relationships and profile, people just started coming to me and saying, hey, can you introduce me to this person? How do you know that person? I need help here. Can you connect me to a sales rep or a marketing rep?
Yeah.
I just started to become the connector. Then people were like, can you show me how to use LinkedIn the way you're doing it?
Yes.
And I started showing my friends.
Yes.
And one guy gave me $100 after I showed him. He goes, you have no idea this is going to help my business so much. Yes. And I go, this is a thing? I can make money teaching what I already know really well?
Yes.
And that was a big spark for me. I was like, okay, I can make money doing this. The goal is to do what you love every single day and make money around that. That's what I'm teaching people. That's my mission right now.
So how do I do that, dude? How do I do that? I want to be an artist. I want to be a musician. I want to be a ball player.
Yeah, you got to promote.
I'm 57. How am I going to make money playing ball?
You got to learn to be
a senior.
You got to learn to tell your story. You got to learn to tell your story and become an incredible marketer. And a lot of people don't love to hear that, because here's the thing. Speaking about artists, I'll tell you a perfect example. My brother is the #1 jazz violinist in the world.
Yeah.
And he has built an incredible business around this. He has 30 different streams of income. He's hustling like a machine.
Yeah.
There's no way he should be making money as a jazz violinist. There's like 4 of them. No one cares about jazz violin. But he has built, multiple 6-figure business every year around it. And he says this to me all the time. He's like, I find the most talented musicians all over the world who make nothing.
Yeah.
It's because they think they're not supposed to promote their work. It's like they think that they're just supposed to be locked up in a room or go to a bar and perform, and that some talented rep is going to find them and then make a CD for them.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen.
Yeah, that marketing's not art somehow.
No, it is necessary if you want to build a business around your dreams. You've got to learn how to become an incredible marketer and promoter around your passion.
Yeah.
And that's something that I learned early on when he would finish a set in front of 25 people at a jazz club where he's making $50 that night. He would go around afterwards and take his CDs in a box and go around and say, thank you so much for being here. Will you buy my CD?
Yeah.
He put it in their chest and wait until they made a decision. If they said no, he'd be like, awesome, thank you for coming. Next.
When I started out 2008, 2009 in just kind of figuring out who am I going to be in the world as a 23, 24-year-old guy trying to figure out my next move in life after I was done playing football, I went on LinkedIn because a mentor said, why don't you check out LinkedIn and see if you can find a job? And all I did was reach out to successful people or people at high levels in their careers or CEOs and message them. And none of them got back to me at first. And then they all got back to me because I stopped saying, hey, can you give me 10 minutes and give me some advice and mentor me? I stopped asking that. And I started saying, what are the questions that if I was really successful and had no time, that would pique my interest and that would make me want to give my time to some young kid trying to figure out life. And I started asking different questions. And I think the quality of your relationships depend on the quality of the questions and all those different things. I think probably Tony Robbins said that.
Yep.
And the questions I started asking was, I would say, what are the things we have in common and how can I speak to those commonalities? Who might we know in common? I just find as many commonalities as first. And I would speak into the commonalities that we had and also the greatest moment in their career that I could research and find. So I would see on their LinkedIn profile. So it's just always researching so much first before I reach out to someone. And I would see, oh, they made a big jump from this company to that company in May of 2004. And I'd say, can you tell me more about exactly what you were thinking about when you did this big jump from this company to this company and how you did that? It's fascinating to me how you did this. So I speak more to, can you tell me how you became successful as opposed to, can you teach me how I can become successful? And when you ask others about their success, Ed, you'll get on the phone with just about anyone to talk about how successful you overcame something or how you overcame this challenge. And you get back to that place of, it was this moment where everything shifted. Like we're more, even just me talking right now about like the past successes and overcoming, we get excited to talk about those things. We don't want to spend 10 minutes to give people advice on how they can overcome something, but we'll tell people how we did it. And that's a gift to be able to ask someone about how they overcame something.
I was in the car. I called two friends during that car ride who I knew had a podcast and asked them, what is this podcasting thing? This is before podcasting was a thing. And this is when it was like just a couple tech podcasts, 6-7 years ago, right? And both of them were like, it's my most favorite thing to do. I get the best leads for my business. And it's just, I have so much fun doing it. I was like, if these guys can do this, I could figure it out. I've never done this before, but I could figure it out.
You can talk to people. You can come
but my whole life I'd been observing and interviewing people, just not recording it. And so I said, okay, I'm gonna launch this thing. It's gonna be called School of Greatness. And everyone said, you're crazy. You can't do a podcast that's like personal development, asking about relationships and business and mindset and philosophy. You need a niche. And this is what I would teach as well.
You need a niche, man.
Everyone was like, no, you need to do like the entrepreneur show or like an online marketing show. That's what you're great at.
A LinkedIn show.
Exactly. They were like, you need to do online marketing. You can't do this like broad thing. It's not going to work. Everyone told me it's not going to work. And I go, I really don't even care if I make money. Like it doesn't matter to me. It's just something I believe in. I think like people are going to listen.
So you want to talk to people you want to talk to.
That's it. I just want to talk to people I want to talk to. Some might be billionaires. Some might be like spiritual teachers. Like I didn't care. And they and my friends were like, I don't think it's the right move, man. Like it's a cool name, but I just don't think it's going to work.
Because you confuse your audience, right? All that.
And I said, I'm gonna do it for a year, and I don't want to make money the first year. I don't even want to try to make money. I don't want to think about money. I just want to do something that I love. I want to help myself, and I'll help other people. And it took off, man.
It took off.
Like in the first year.
Like remember how many downloads you got the first year?
It took off in the sense of it was well received. It only got 750,000 downloads.
But the reputation.
In the year, right?
The reputation you built.
Yes. It didn't even get 1 million downloads the first year. And I think this is what people need to be aware of. My whole first year of podcasting didn't even hit 1 million downloads. Second year was only 3 million downloads.
Still,
It's nice, but it wasn't like boom overnight. It was like this huge success. But people loved it, and the impact and the results they were getting in their life was amazing. And I was loving it.
What do you think about masks in terms of identity? Because for someone like you who spends a lot of time thinking about this, that not only did you go see a therapist, like it actually registered in your mind that would be a helpful thing. For a lot of people it doesn't. They actually don't know what their true self is. Like how do they begin to deconstruct and differentiate between, like when you talk about wearing the athlete mask for so long in your life, and that was real, right? Like you had a real passion for it, you still do. I mean, you're on the US national handball team, so it's like there's a point at which it's real and sort of core to who you are when you're being authentic, and then it spills over into a mask. How do you help people deconstruct that process to find where those marks are?
I think it's a lot of self-discovery. It's a lot of, for me, what worked was having open conversations and asking for feedback. And when you're wearing a mask, you don't want feedback. You want to know that you're right, that your way is the right way because it's been working for you. So asking someone, hey, how do I show up for you? You know, is there anything I do that just rubs you the wrong way? Or do you feel like it's hurting our relationship? Or do you feel like I'm disconnected in any way?
How often did you have conversations like that?
Growing up, not many. But 4 years ago after this fight, I started having them every day with everyone, everyone in my life. I think, you know, here's something you can start with. You can either have an open conversation with someone and ask them to rate you. You know, whatever works for you. Hey, will you write a list of the things that you feel like work really well for me, my strengths and my weaknesses? Or on a scale of 1 to 10, how open am I to feedback for you? Am I, you know, 9 where I'm pretty open pretty much all the time? Or am I at a 2 where anytime you ever suggest anything, I push you away? Just start getting feedback from your closest friends. If you have an audience, you can ask your audience, from your family.
Did you ask your audience?
I didn't necessarily ask them to like grade me, you know, or something like that, but I started having an open dialogue with my audience. I started sharing and revealing things. I started opening up about the things I was going through, things I was letting go from my past that had really affected me, and kind of having more like a confessional with people, you know, with my audience of like, this is what's happened to me, this is where I'm going, and this is what I'm working on. I hope you'll stick around.
Right.
But I think asking people to write you a letter. You know, if you can't have an open conversation, if you don't feel good about that, email someone and say, hey, I just want to get some feedback. You know, I'm not going to get upset. I want you to speak openly to me, but could you write a list of like 5 things that I do really well, 5 things that you feel like are holding me back, and from our relationship, from my relationship with other people, and from my dreams. Start there. You're going to get so much, and say, I want you to be completely honest. Again, it's just one person's opinion, but it's their perception, and perception is reality to that person. So I try to get as much feedback as possible from my closest friends, my family. I had a one-on-one conversation with every family member.
Wow.
I took ownership and apologized for everything that I'd ever done. And I revealed all the things that had happened to me that I was terrified for them to know. This book is built up of 8 principles. It's not about me, it's about the people I've brought on, and you're one of those people, so thank you. You're actually mentioned in the back of the book.
I did, that's
so
awesome.
Thank you very
man.
much.
You're going to make me
This is the 8
now.
principles from all the people I've interviewed, from the top of their game, from every different type of industry. What has made them great? One of the first principle is having a clear, powerful vision of what you want your life to look like. And also a vision for your finances, health, relationships, everything. That's what all great leaders have, a clear vision. I'm not some perfect human being here, so I make mistakes like a lot of people. Yeah, and how I handle my mistakes and talk about them is also a big responsibility.
Yes.
How I take responsibility for my actions, for my mess ups, for my mistakes, how I've hurt people. Like, I'm not a perfect person.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for me as well, is to constantly take ownership and responsibility for everything, continue to live from a loving place, and continue to learn and grow. I was so terrified for my family and my friends to know actually who I was, things that had happened that I was ashamed of and guilty of, that I started every conversation, and I got this from a therapist friend of mine because I didn't know how to communicate correctly. I said, is there anything that I could ever do or say that would make you not love me? So I started every conversation with that. Because I wanted to know that I could be the most messed up person in the world and I would still have connection. And that someone would still love me. Because I think at our core, that's our deepest fear. That we're not going to feel love from someone. So for me, I started with my family members. They were all like, absolutely not. Even, especially my brother who went to prison, he was like, no, right away. He was like, nothing, you know? And it was just such a healing process to say, wow, I've known these people for my whole life, and yet they still don't know certain things about me, and I didn't know certain things about them. When I actually opened up and was vulnerable, when I opened up and was vulnerable and shared things with them that no one knew for 25 years of my life, it was like the most powerful, intimate conversations I've ever had with my closest relatives, right? And then they opened up in ways that I just had no idea what had happened to them. So our relationship formed a stronger bond. Our trust and intimacy formed a stronger bond. And I was able to just let go of things that I was holding on to for years, which allowed me to move forward. So I think it's starting with having those open conversations. If you can't do that, email and ask people to write down 5 things that you do well, 5 things that you could use work on, just to get feedback from people. Some things are gonna land, some things aren't, but I think it's important to get that feedback. In my entire life, I was competitive, was driven to beat other people. And in the last 7 years, I've shifted so much. I'm still competitive, still want to win, but I'm not like hurt if I lose. I'm not upset. It doesn't defeat me emotionally. Whereas before, it used to be like this was my identity, winning. I had to win. Now it's like, okay, what did I learn? What did I gain from this experience? Did I have fun? Did I enjoy it? Did I inspire people even if I didn't win in this situation? I'm very intentional about my design and branding.
Yes.
I think a lot of marketers miss out on.
Yep.
Where I invested in I went to Iceland 4 years ago just to do a photo shoot for my website. Spent 5 days, all this time, all this money.
Yes.
Hiring a celebrity photographer,
Yes.
Everything, just to be able to say, I want photos that look different than everyone else online.
Yes.
I want to stand in a unique position and not just look like every internet marketer.
Yes.
So I'm very intentional about like, what do mainstream people do?
Yes.
I'm doing that. I'm not doing what internet marketers do.
Yes.
I'm using internet marketing principles
Yes.
so that I can make money and run a business.
Yes.
But I'm not going to be an internet marketer, and I want to be completely disassociated with that industry.
Yes.
So I know everyone. I still stay close with everyone. I still go to masterminds and learn.
Yeah.
But it's how can I apply mainstream media strategies, branding, mission, vision, and apply it to what I'm doing. And that's something I'm always thinking about is how can I be different? Because as Sally Hogshead says, different is better than better. So many people are fighting for their dreams. They're going after what they want. And it's in some ways selfish, but a lot of people aren't figuring out how to give back at the same time.
Yeah.
And you're constantly giving back with free information, free. You invested millions of dollars in all the stuff you've created to give to people for free because you're leaving a legacy and living a life of serving other people, millions of people around the world. And because you're in service to other people as opposed to just yourself, you're building a huge legacy.
Yeah.
So make sure whatever you're doing, yes, it's going to be selfish for your own needs and your dreams, but make sure you're giving to other people at the same time.
Yeah. I'm all about having nice things, like living in a nice place, flying first class. Like I'm all about convenience and all these things. But I think if I was posting about all my material possessions every single day on social media, talking about how much money I had constantly, I would attract a certain crowd and I would attract people close to me who probably were thinking about the same things. We're focused on the money. So I would ask myself, like, if I lost it all, would those friends still be around? Did I make an impact in their life, or did I have meaningful connections with them beyond the money? Or was that the thing that attracted them to me as well? So I think you just need to ask yourself, like, again, if you're an athlete and then you get injured, are your friends going to stick around? Is your entourage going to stick around if you're no longer playing in the game, whatever sport you're playing, and you no longer have the money? Did you make an impact in people's lives? Did you build meaningful, intimate relationships? If you didn't, those people probably aren't going to stick around. But don't allow your net worth to reflect your self-worth. And the same thing with your athletic capabilities and everything else. Figure out a way to develop your self-worth first and build meaningful value in other people's lives. And if you make a lot of money, cool. But at least you have the foundation first of self-worth.
For me, mass credibility is important. Yep. Mainstream credibility is important.
Yep.
Because I think that's when you can really influence people.
Yeah.
And
impact a lot of people.
And I noticed that, I'm not going to say their names, I think they're all great guys, but a lot of these guys who are successful in internet marketing, Oprah, Ellen, GMA, Today Show, none of them were being called to be on the shows.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I want to impact the country and the world, I need all the big press to say, man, there's something about this guy or his mission or his message that we like. We got to have him on.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was on my sister's couch thinking like, someday I want to be on Ellen.
Yeah.
I want to be dancing with Ellen.
I saw it.
I want to be dancing with Ellen.
I saw it.
And I was just like, it's not going to be teaching LinkedIn.
Yeah.
It's not going to be being an affiliate marketer.
Yeah. Because it's just too
hacking the internet. Yeah, it's just not it.
Yeah. How to build an email list. Yeah.
That's it. And I was just like, I need to build something that is building a movement and transforming lives.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether it be spiritually, financially, health-wise, like it's got to be a bigger transformation than just how to make money. And I was like, gosh, how do I do this? And whenever an internet marketer was doing courses and just coaching by itself, I said, okay, I'm going to keep doing that because I want to generate revenue. but I'm going to build this podcast into a mainstream brand. How do I do that? I can't talk just about money. I need to bring on celebrities. I need to bring on thought leaders. I need to bring on billionaires.
Bigger society, global
mainstream people.
Yeah.
I need to interview them, not just the internet marketing celebrities, which everyone else was doing that I knew. I was like, I can make a lot of money doing this.
Yeah.
But I need to forego money and do whatever I can to build relationship equity to get these people to come on my show, to trust me to tell their story.
Yeah.
Through association, I'm going to become that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You become who you hang out with.
Yeah.
You become those people that you're surrounded with the most.
Yeah.
And so people just started to say, well, I was in those conversations. Everyone just be like, do you know Lewis Howes? Do you know Lewis Howes? Like,
Lewis is a cool guy. Like,
man, he's with this person, Like, it was a great interview. Man, that's Lewis Howes guy.
Yeah.
You just become associated with that crowd.
Yeah.
Mainstream, celebrity, credible, whatever it is.
Yeah.
If you interview all world-class athletes, you become known as world-class.
Yes.
And then I said, I need to, okay, the podcast was a great foundation. That's not enough. Like podcasting didn't have a big enough name still, 6 years ago, 5 years ago, not even until really a year ago.
Yeah.
So I said, what can I do? I need to write a book. Everyone who's credible, and this was my second book. The first book, I was like, I need to write a book.
It's a great book, by the way.
Thank you.
It's a great book.
I go, I need to write a book. And everyone was talking about self-publishing, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I go, it's got to be with a big traditional publisher.
Yes.
Because I need to go mainstream.
Yeah.
Because no internet marketer who writes a book gets a New York Times bestseller list.
Yeah.
They're not getting press.
Yeah.
I need mainstream press, mainstream publisher.
Yeah.
I need front of Barnes & Noble.
Yeah.
I need airports. I need what celebrities and credible TED speakers do.
Yeah.
That's what I need.
Yeah.
And I was committed to it. I went after the best agent in the world, Tim Ferriss's agent, Stephen Hanselman, who's incredible. And I said, and I was working on trying to get him as my agent for 5 years.
Yeah.
Until I became the person I needed to be for him to take me on. I had a vision, and I was just like, I'm
I
gonna write a
remember
book.
when we did the book tour. It was intense.
Yeah. I was like, I need to do everything that a celebrity would do, everything that a New York Times bestselling author would do. What do they do?
Yes.
They do big book tours.
Yes.
They have other celebrities with photos of their book posting them.
I remember after the book tour, I think I was listening to, I think you maybe you on a show or something like that. You're like, oh my, that's a long,
man.
It was a lot. There was a lot of work. Like, oh man,
There
that
was
was
so much energy. But I was like, this is a moment in time that I have to make something special happen.
Yeah.
Can't write a book every year
Yeah.
and have a chance to hit the New York Times bestseller list,
Yeah.
unless that's all you're doing as a writer.
Yeah.
But I was like, I need my first book to make a splash.
Yeah.
And there's a moment where I can call in every favor from every guest I've had on,
Yeah.
because I never asked them for anything.
Yeah.
It's where I can ask for every favor, email every journalist that I've ever talked to,
Yeah.
all my affiliate marketing contacts, everyone,
Yeah.
to promote one thing
Yeah.
for 1 week
Well, 1 week. Yeah.
and give myself a chance.
Yeah.
It was in the front of all the Barnes & Nobles
Yeah.
because I built a relationship with the Barnes & Noble team.
Yeah.
I was in magazines, I was on TV, I was on everyone's email list, every podcast, all social media. I was omnipresent
Yes.
for a couple of weeks.
Yes.
And I remember when I got the phone call from my agent congratulating me that I hit number 3 in the New York Times bestseller list in the first week. I was just like, it's kind of like this, like, oh my gosh, we put all this energy. Even if we didn't hit it, I would have been disappointed if we didn't hit it. But I was like, you know what? We went all in and it worked. And I knew that just having New York Times bestseller next to my name as an author would be another bump in credibility.
Yeah.
Another bump towards mainstream.
Yes.
Another bump towards mass audience reach.
Yeah.
So I do things very intentionally that are very challenging
Yeah.
to do
Yeah.
in order to give myself that.
Yeah.
Doing the podcast 3 times a week for 6.5 years is challenging to do for people.
Most people would not do that. They
And to
would-
build relationships with people for years before they come on
Yeah.
is not fun.
Yeah.
To write a book and think of it as a New York Times bestseller, not as a moneymaker,
Yeah.
but as a mainstream book.
Yeah.
It's counterintuitive to my marketing roots,
Yeah,
right?
totally,
It's
I
like,
get
what
it.
can I do as a funnel to have a back end? And I think, no, what can I do that's going to change humanity?
Yeah. And that's why I'm launching my new book. It's exactly the same.
Exactly.
Exactly the same.
Then I said, okay, what's the next phase? I need a talk show.
Yeah.
So last year I did the first talk show for Facebook Watch.
Yes.
They came out with a new platform. We launched their first ever talk show. And that was another bump. It was like
Yes.
getting credibility, getting press,
Yes.
getting all this attention. Then I was like, you know what? What else do I want to do that's challenging that people aren't willing to do because it takes time, money, and energy? People are going to constantly judge us. whether we go after big dreams or do nothing. We're gonna be judged. Either way, if we sit on a couch all day, our parents and our friends are gonna be, you're lazy, do something with your life. If we go chase after the most audacious dreams we have, a lot of people are gonna attack us and try to bring us down. So we might as well go do something with our lives and say thank you for the feedback and move on. Some things will land, other things will just bounce right off. And it's our duty and responsibility to be able to move forward and be discerning of the information we receive, have a close group of people that we really trust who can cipher some of the information and give the feedback that is worthy, and then try to learn, apologize, move on. That's all we can do.
I feel like in the last 7 years, it's been more duty and love. It's more like mission focused. And there's an amount of happiness that I've never felt before until I reached practicing duty and love. And I remember I never was able to fall asleep at night until about 7, 8 years ago without an hour and a half of just anxious, anxiety, stress, concern, worry. And when I shifted from seeking personal gratifications to being motivated by a mission and love and gratitude, it's like I started to fall asleep within minutes. And it's crazy. I remember as a freshman playing football, I was playing Division II football in Minnesota. They usually redshirt all the freshmen. And I went into this with a big ego, thinking like, I'm gonna start, or at least I wanna play, right? So I went into it with an ego in the first place. But I also, which wasn't good, but I also went into it with some things that were good from this conversation. I told the coach straight up, like, I know you don't play freshmen, but my intention is to play. What is it gonna take for me in order to get on the field? You know, do I need to get here early? Do I need to stay late? Can I sit here in the office with you after the before practice and go over game film? Whatever it was, and he told me, yeah, I need you to come in the office every single day and watch game film with me. I need to be with your receiver coach every single day beforehand and doing reps. And I just did it. And I eventually started to play my freshman year. I didn't start in the beginning, but I started to start at the end. And that for me was powerful. It's like I dressed in it because I wanted to play and I was afraid I wasn't going to play at all. And just waste a year of practicing like every other freshman would do there. That was my ego going in, like amazing. I need to play. But I was also like, I'll do whatever it takes and I'll practice and I'll confront it with conversation and say, this is my intention, this is my vision, and I'm going to do whatever it takes for you.
In the morning when I meditate, I set my intention. I literally know how powerful my ego is, and that I could be easily triggered to react like a silverback at any moment. Like, it's so easy for me to go to that place if I'm not intentional about the way I want to be throughout the day. So that's why when I'm meditating, I'm thinking about any scenario that could happen today. With my girlfriend, what if she gets upset at me for something that I forgot to do? How am I going to respond? You know, if a team meeting doesn't go well, how am I going to respond? If someone misses a deadline, if someone does this, if someone does, I just try to go through things. How can I respond? If anything happens, am I going to react to everyone around me? Or am I going to take ownership? So I try to get clear on my intention for the day and in any area of my life. And when I do that, I feel like I'm prepared. And I think most people, humans in general, aren't as prepared for these challenges. And then therefore they go back into just wearing a mask. When any situation occurs where they feel attacked, let's put on the mask because that's what feels natural.
I think we need those challenges for ourselves. We need a challenge. It's like kind of like in a big game. You need a challenge to be able to see how great you can become.
Yes.
You need a competitor, or you need something that you feel a little bit scared about or a little bit unsure about to see how you can rise up to that challenge. And if there is no challenge, we're never going to perform at the highest level.
Yeah.
I think we got to constantly challenge ourselves if we want to step into something new. Otherwise, we've developed a strength and a comfort zone of what we're comfortable with.
The definition of masculinity is living in service. Being in service to others and to humanity. We've been given so much just to be on this earth. That's the way I choose to look at life, is I've been given so much. Even if I went through so many challenges, I've been given a lot. I feel like it's my responsibility to leave a legacy by making humanity better and making the world better in any way that I possibly can, because I was given so much by just entering the world. And that's the way I choose to look at it. So a masculine man is someone who lives in service, who comes from a place of win-win, of we're all in this together, and someone who lifts others up around them. we talk about responsibility, you know, not to like plug this book or anything, but this book was something that I felt like as I started to heal from my past on this journey of self-discovery and let go of a lot of the anger and resentment I was holding on to as a child from being sexually abused and a lot of other stuff, I realized like, wow, there's so many other men that I know who are suffering. And I want to give them these tools that I'm learning. And I want to find the experts and learn from them and write about it in a book. And this book was, everyone was like, again, like they said in the podcast, they were like, don't do this book. Do a marketing book, do a business book next. Our first book was a huge success. We got to build the momentum. Now it's the business version. I was like, I just don't want to talk about business. I'd rather talk about how men can heal and become more vulnerable, loving, caring men. And they're all like, that's a dumb business move. And I go, I don't care if it's dumb, it's needed. And I'll feel like a fraud if I do something else. Because people healing and having better relationships with their partners and their children is more important to me than teaching people how to build their business. It just is. Someone else can teach it better. There is a vision within you, a dream you must live. But the journey is destined for daunting challenges. To fulfill your quest, you'll need to move through your fears. Now is the time to become who you were born to be, to embrace the truth within you. We all leave a legacy behind. How do you want to be remembered? Our greatest success is not how much money we make, but in the way we inspire and serve others. You were born for greatness, and it's always inside you. Are you ready to live your dreams to the fullest? Because it's never too late to become the hero of your own story.
Walk us through what is, it was actually really interesting, even though I felt like I understand exactly what he means. It was really neat to see it in black and white. Here is the traditional view of what a real man is. So walk us through that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the traditional view is that a real man doesn't cry, doesn't show emotion. A real man makes a ton of money because he can provide for his family. A real man is able to have any woman he wants. A real man is strong, athletic, physical, and a real man doesn't back down from controversy. So I think, and there's a number of other in the list, but it's kind of like those key things. A real man is intelligent, he can take on any challenge, all these things. And so that's where we get men who are, who are stoic, who don't show emotion, because it was driven into me day after day to not show fear, to not show emotion on the football field. Driven into you. Don't show them that they got to you, right? Don't let them see you sweat. Just like the simple things you hear over and over. But when a coach is beating you over the head with a whistle, screaming in your face, grabbing your face mask, throwing you down, and you're witnessing this all the time, because you're showing emotion, you're not gonna do it. You're just not. If you want to play the game and you want to be, achieve your goal, you're just like, okay, I'm going to be tough. Like, I just broke my ribs. I'm not going to let anyone know. Like, you just keep playing, you know what I mean? And so it's just challenging. It's just challenging. And especially with boys in locker rooms of sports teams, it's like the conversations, the locker talk is true. It happens. Unless there's a group of boys that just stand up and are like, hey guys, we're not going to talk bad about these girls or about these other kids or about these guys. We're not going to bully people. We're going to be supportive. It's just rare, I feel like. It's just very rare. And you need to have a group of boys who are educated by, in my opinion, loving, powerful women. And I was so grateful that I had 2 older sisters and an amazing mother who constantly would come back from these dates. Like my sisters would come back from dates and be like, never do this, Lewis. They would tell me this guy's a jerk, he was an asshole, never do this. And so I learned early on oh, you don't treat women this way. And there's a certain way to be in the world. And so I think I was blessed enough to have kind of that experience and that relationship with women early on that taught me how to treat just humans with respect. Not women in general, but I mean human beings, all humans. The worst lies are the lies we tell ourselves. We live in denial of what we do, even what we think. We do this because we're afraid. And that's by Richard Bach. I really love that quote because I think we all tell ourselves lies and we have excuses which hold us back from reaching our true potential and our true success as entrepreneurs. Now, for myself, I used to be a professional athlete and I got injured. I broke my wrist playing arena football and had to end my career pretty early. Now, it was depressing. I didn't have a college degree at the time. It was right in 2008 when the economy wasn't doing so well. I didn't think I was smart enough. I didn't think I had the knowledge. I didn't know how to make money. I didn't know how to build a business. I didn't have any of the information that I really needed, that I felt like I needed to build a successful business. And I was telling myself constant lies. And you may have some excuses or lies yourself.
We know it intellectually. Like everybody knows, oh, money doesn't buy you happiness, blah, blah. But it's like, but actually believing that, like we sort of go, yeah. But like if I just get the Tesla,
it buys you
or
convenience.
If I just get the thing,
well, it buys you convenience.
You know?
It buys you like a more comfortable life. It buys you these other things that, you know, lack of money can't get you, but it doesn't buy you inner peace. And I think that's the thing as men we struggle with, is finding this sense of like inner peace and inner fulfillment. And if we're constantly chasing something, thinking that it's going to give us inner peace without addressing the things that are holding that peace back from us, that's where we get into trouble. So it's how can we address those things now and then go make billions of dollars, and you're going to be happier.
Let's see if we can juggle by ourselves and see how long it lasts.
Okay.
And then we'll do the next step. Ready?
1, 2, 3, go.
Go. What's the key to being successful juggling? Is it the breathing? Is it the...
It's focusing on the top.
The top?
And not actually looking at
your hands?
Yes, not at your hands or each item that you're juggling.
Should we start to make it more advanced?
Yeah.
So we do the raindrop, or what do you call it, the waterfall?
I'm doing the reverse.
Oh, snap!
No,
I didn't drop it, but I stopped.
Okay, but you stopped, and then I got nervous, and then I stopped.
So you win. Because I...
So no, I send you a trophy, or you send me a trophy?
I send you a trophy.
Okay, great. I'm really excited.
I stopped. All right. So now we'll try each. Now you got to
So-
teach me this, 'cause I've never done it.
So we'll just start juggling. 1,
Okay.
2, 3, and then on 3 you pass, which from
Pass
your...
where? To your-
hold on.
which
Wait.
hand?
Okay, I don't know my left and right. I get this is my deep dark
How about
secret.
pass in
I
the
don't know
middle?
my left and right, so I have to go like this. So
Left,
pass from
right.
Yes, we have to make the L and the
Should we pass it towards the middle?
So you pass with this hand. The
My
opposite.
right hand.
Yes.
And you're going to pass with your right hand to the middle.
1, 2, 3, pass.
Toss.
1, 2, 3,
Okay, let's
pass.
try one.
Okay, ready?
Ready? Well,
Let's
you tell
juggle.
me. Okay.
We'll juggle twice. So
Let's just start juggling.
okay. 1, 2, 3, pass. Oh
Let's try one more time.
We're gonna need to practice. We lost some fruit.
Fruit is
Some
gone.
fruit is down.
Okay. Let's try it again.
Okay.
So we're going to go
And then you want to toss it sort of like up. So like right. So
like this.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, pass.
Ooh,
Oh, no!
I caught it.
I
Still
couldn't
going.
see it.
I'm
The
still
key
going.
was too little. Was this a key? What the hell is this? I
It's
don't
so
know.
small.
It's real little.
Okay, let's keep going.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Oh shoot! I passed.
You gotta tell me when. Just
Okay.
throwing
I
fruit at me.
can't. Okay. All right. Let's just start juggling. 1, 2, 3, pass. So maybe
All right,
we should.
I'm gonna
stick to
call it out and
making
do it
videos.
once.
Okay,
Yeah.
you call it.
Where'd it go? Is it gone?
I lost the fruit.
Okay, last
Fruit
time.
down. All right.
Last time. Here
You
go.
call it.
So we're gonna start juggling at the same time.
Okay, yes.
Ready? Go. 1, 2, 3, pass. Oh, look at that!
This is good.
1, 2, 3, pass. Oh, no! Awesome.
Collided.
We got it.
This is
Thank
awesome.
you,
I
Justine.
can't wait for
You're
my
amazing.
trophy.
I will send you a trophy soon. Thank you for coming on.
Now I've got a really special bonus clip that I think you're going to enjoy. But before that, it's time for the question of the day. I want to know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video, and how are you going to take action on it this week? When you schedule in what day, what time, and what place you're going to take action, you have a 91% chance of actually following through versus just a 35% chance if you just got motivated but never created a specific plan. And when you share your plan publicly and have some accountability, you increase your chances even further of actually following through. So I want to know your single biggest takeaway and your plan of action this week in the comments so I can celebrate you.
I really love journaling. Journaling for me is a way to express my own emotions to myself, which most men, I would say in general, I think the viewpoint is men aren't able to communicate their emotions, right? And
it starts with being able to do it with ourselves. How did I feel today? When I got mad at this person, what did it do for me inside? How did that person feel after that conversation?
And is that actually what you're writing down, those exact words?
Different things, different prompts based on different masks. I give different prompts, yeah. But I mean, for me, it's just more of like evaluating my day, like
total stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
Not worried about grammar, punctuation, just
whatever. Just, I mean, I can't spell in the first place because I'm dyslexic, so I'm just like scribbling and I can't even read what I say afterwards.
And do you prefer that it's handwritten? Like, do you think there's something more cathartic about that?
I think writing is powerful. Any way to get it out. Use technology to your advantage. If you want to voice it on a voice memo on your phone, do that. Any way to communicate your feelings. No one needs to see this. Start with yourself.
If you want to change your life for free in the next 30 days, check out my training right here below. Or if you want to see the top 50 I did on Warren Buffett, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy them. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.